All right, so I wanted to come on here and talk about voice AI integrations and how we actually integrate realistically into client softwares, the different types of integrations that we need to do, because it seems like a lot of people talk about just software and CRM integrations when I think there's so much more to explore and so much more to understand. So my name is Eyal. I am one of the co-founders at ufound AI. We help service businesses, specifically in the wellness and home services space, implement voice AI agents to answer missed calls, to make calls to leads that are coming inbound, all that good stuff. And I just wanted to explain the concept of integrations because I feel like there's a lot that's going on and it's hard to understand, okay, what do I actually need to have prepared so that my voice AI can transfer data, can track data, can make sure everything is in line before I just put something out there. Because if we want to help answer calls, data and making sure everything's connected is super, super important. So we're going to start over here at the phone system. All right. So why is a phone system so important for voice AI to be able to be implemented into a company's processes? The phone system is important for a few reasons. Number one is if you just want it to handle missed calls, it's going to need to be instead of your voicemail. There are a lot of phone systems out there, a lot of different ones who can do this. There's Vonage, there's RingCentral, there's Dialpad, there's all these different types of softwares, and that's super important not only for call forwarding, like I mentioned, but also for transferring. If you're a larger company and you have a ton of people in the building, or even a few, let's say you have a billing, service, customer inquiries, all that kind of stuff, you want to make sure that it's able to transfer. So transferring, call forwarding, and connection. And what do I mean by connection? Connection means a connection to your other softwares, obviously, right? So you want to be able to, number one, track what's actually going on in the business, not only calls that are being answered by humans, which you should be tracking for sure to understand who's calling in, how many calls am I missing, how many calls am I answering. That's super, super important. But also to be able to track that data and then push it also off to another software to make sure it's housed in the right place, to use it, to have it available if you need to run marketing, that sort of thing. It's super, super important. So now moving on to scripts. When we talk about scripts, we're talking about the scripts specifically for the AI. I mean, when we help our clients, sometimes they need scripts and we provide scripts and they even use them for the humans. But the big part about scripts, and I label this as an integration because it's just as important as any other integration with the voice AI. Yes, it's not a technological integration. It's very human. It's language based, but it's incredibly important. One thing that we hear all the time is the brand reflection. When an AI is speaking to your customers, you want to make sure it doesn't sound like some bland, copy and paste agent. It's for your business. It's for your company. It's talking to your customers. Not only do you want to make them feel special, but you want to make them feel as though they're being heard, even though it's an AI. It's still possible. So brand reflection is awesome. Then handling tough customers. This is a big one. Not just because they want to speak to a human, which you should always route to a human if somebody wants to speak to one, but handling tough customers because sometimes people are super stressed. Sometimes they're upset, and sometimes they just want service and they want it now. And the hard part about that is if you have an AI agent who is super robotic and has no emotion, it's probably going to go in circles. The person will just end up being more upset. So there's a few different ways to handle it. One is, I understand you're upset. I can, we're going to try to help you. I can also transfer you to someone, or I can take a message for you. That sort of thing to make sure you're helping the person not feel like they're stuck in a loop and not getting help. And the last thing is that we tell everybody that we do is training the AI like a human. It's a big part of how we prompt the AIs and how we explain the process over to customers. Training an AI is very, very similar to training a human being. The same scripts that you would provide to a human, you would provide to the AI. The same ways it should answer questions, just like that. Everything is incredibly, incredibly similar. All right, next, moving on to some of the more technical aspects. So I understand that schedule, a lot of the times, is part of the CRM. Now, the reason why I decided to make it separate is because it's such an integral part of a voice AI. usually the thing that you want your voice AI to be doing over anything else is scheduling people in. Invisible leads is what we call them. People are calling in, people are submitting forms, whatever it is, and they're not getting scheduled in, they're not getting booked in. So why is schedule by itself? Because it's so important that I think I need to separate it from the CRM. Now, sometimes people can use different softwares like Calendly or cal.com instead of their CRM, and then it sort of pushes it over, right? So people get pushed into the CRM from the schedule. But a lot of times these two are simply connected and one and the same. But I think the difference in them is incredibly important, and that's why I decided to put schedule on its own. So what is schedule? The first thing is services. Most companies schedule in people for different services depending on what they want, right? So yes, let's say for example, a plumbing company. There are so many different services that a plumbing or electrician or wellness company offers, right? And so we need to make sure that when it's scheduling someone in, the thing that they ask for, it needs to schedule them in for. Obviously, if that's something that you guys offer, you want to make sure that it's not switching out services. For home services, this is incredibly important because, and wellness, honestly, because both of those niches, only certain people can service certain jobs or certain appointments. And if you switch that up and mess that up, it messes with everyone's calendar. So it's incredibly important to get that right. And that moves into the next one, which is employees. And this is super important because, like I mentioned in the last one, employees can get super mixed up. They can get super frustrated. And this is not what we want the AI to do. We want the AI to do the opposite, to make their lives easier, especially the front desk staff, right? And so when something comes in, it should automatically be placed on an employee's calendar as if the office staff did it, the exact same process. And lastly is reschedule and cancellations. So we want to make sure, obviously, that it's scheduling as many people as possible, but there are times that happens where people call in to cancel or people call in to reschedule. And one thing that we do, which isn't really related to voice AI, but we use it as a strategy for our voice agents, is when somebody asks to reschedule, somebody asks to cancel, excuse me, when someone calls in asking to cancel, try to get a reschedule out of them. Ask for the reason of why they're canceling and if it's something that they can help with. If they say, oh, the time just didn't work, the AI knows right away, awesome, no problem. Let's schedule it in for another time that works better. And a lot of the time that works. If they're just looking to cancel, try to get a little bit, or reschedule, try to get a little bit of information, why not, and schedule them in. And lastly is really one of the biggest parts of the whole thing, which is your CRM. The CRM is where all of the data is going to be stored. And if you don't have a CRM, a good CRM, you don't have a CRM, that's a whole other issue. You should definitely look into getting one. If you don't have a good CRM or you're just not using it to its full advantage, that's something else that a voice AI assistant can do for you, because when it's integrated, you'll start to understand how data can be set up to be structured well, which goes into the first one of data structure. Data structure is incredibly, incredibly important and crucial to how the AI is able to tell you what's going right and what's going wrong. If, for example, you use something like Service Titan, data structure is incredibly important because it can show, okay, how many people has the AI got in today? How many people has the AI booked in this week? What is the drop-off rates for the AI compared to a human being? And this data structure is very, very important, which goes into the second thing, which is organization. Organization of data is just as important as having data itself. If you have data in one huge Excel sheet, there's nothing you can do with it. It's not going to understand. And nowadays with AI, especially how we set up the voice AI agent, but also in CRMs, they're starting to come out with AI capabilities to be able to organize data much better. And that'll just give you a far, far clearer picture as to how you can move forward in the business. If there's leaks anywhere, if there's a lot of people being missed out when they get to this part of the conversation, whatever it is, who's performing the best, all that kind of stuff is very important to organize your data and understand where the data is going. And next is the current processes. When we implement a voice agent, we want to make sure that we're not changing your process at all. Again, if we can help create a better process for your system, that's amazing. And we're all ears, 100%. But I think the biggest thing is to understand your current process and to copy it exactly how the AI is going to do it. So let's say on a certain CRM, you when someone reschedules a job, you send out an email to them confirming the reschedule. Whatever it is, for example, it's that. What we're going to do is do exactly the same thing. We're going to try to just make the AI go directly into your workflow. No extra browsers, no extra extensions, no all this crazy stuff. It goes directly into your CRM structure. So if you already have your CRM set up very well, you can set up your own voice AI to just slide directly into your current processes, especially on very automation efficient ones like Go High Level and Zoho, ones that you have a lot of variability to them. So that is the 4 facets of integration that we really look into and what we really focus on, because we see so many voice agents out there that are so incredibly bad and so incredibly basic. And really what it comes down to is integrations. Prompting is also an incredibly important part, and I think it relates very much into this, but the integrations is so important. The sound of the AI, they're all starting to sound, very similar. Obviously, there are softwares that are better or worse, but the integrations is where you see a massive difference. So if you can get this right, and if there's any way I can help you, please reach out. Again, my name is Eyal. I run ufound AI. We help businesses with this kind of stuff. If you're looking to do this yourself, I don't mind offering a free consultation, helping you out however I can. If you're thinking that this might be a little bit too difficult, no problem. We can talk about a strategy session on how we would do the same for your company. Thanks so much and have a great day.